Let me get to introducing our two special guests. I'll start with Dr. Artina McCain, who is originally from the great state of Texas and is currently professor of piano at the University of Memphis. She should be coming up on screen soon. There she is. Hi, Artina.
Hi.
She has dedicated herself to introducing, recording, and teaching works by composers of African descent. She's also a fabulous performer. And so thank you for being here, Artina. Did I miss anything important that you want to share or?
That's good.
Excellent. And I just found out backstage too that her husband used to play for the Malaysian Symphony Orchestra. So that was a connection that was very, very cool. So we'll see you in a bit, Artina. Thank you. And so next up is Dennis Alexander, who needs no introduction, of course, as a composer and clinician. And I would probably bet that every single one of you watching today has taught one of his pieces or is currently teaching one of his pieces. He was on the faculty of the University of Montana for many years and currently lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I actually met Dennis in Pune, India. That was about 8 years to the day, Dennis. Do you that and that was a really memorable, eye-opening experience. Do you remember Music Quest? So yeah, I digress. So Dennis, are you ready? Because we are.
I am ready.
Excellent. So here, without further ado, is Dennis Alexander.
Hi, everyone. I am so happy to be here with Charmaine and our other guest presenter, the wonderful and vivacious Artina McCain, whom I have yet to meet in person. I'm hoping to happen at the MTNA National Conference in Minneapolis later. I hope many of you will be there as well. I'm so happy to be working now with the wonderful people at Hal Leonard Music Publishing. These brand new books that just recently came out are called the Overture series. The word overture has been defined as an introduction to something a little more substantial, and my Overture series is just that. This first collection, called Mini Overtures, is the perfect supplement for any beginning piano method. Most of the pieces consist of single-line melodies that are divided between the hands, while gradually introducing hands together, playing in its very simplest form. There are 16 familiar tunes in this little collection. Well-known folk tunes, nursery rhymes, or rounds that many of us learned when we were children. In fact, I can recall my mom singing many of these little tunes to me when I was 5 or 6 years old. The words for each piece are included, and I would really encourage students and teachers to sing these delightful tunes while performing them. Singing the words always helps with the phrasing and the overall character of the piece. The teacher accompaniments are great fun to play, and they add so much interest and just plain old fun to the student's part. Let's hear the first video. I'd like to listen for you to listen to the wheels on the bus. In the accompaniment, you're going to notice on the second page of this piece that when the children are singing, the wipers on the bus go swish, swish, swish. My accompaniment changes directions back and forth to kind of represent those wipers on the bus. Let's watch the video. You'll notice that, of course, I was playing that solo part on my clavinova where I had previously recorded the teacher duet part. In fact, I use my clavinova a lot with my students. I send them an MP3 file of duet accompaniments, which they can enjoy and then play with their teacher at home when they're learning new pieces like this. Next up is a little tune called Go Tell Aunt Rhody. You're going to hear a little bit of country hoedown in the teacher's part with this one. Let's take a listen. Looks like we're having a little bit of an internet problem on that one. I'm not sure what happened, but let's go ahead here. The third selection from this book I'd like to share with you is Sweetly Sings the Donkey. And when your students are playing this piece, they're going to hear some real fun dissonant sounds on those hee-haws and hee-haws that the donkey is screaming out on the second page of this piece. Let's check out the video for this one. I think you and your students are going to have so much fun with all of these arrangements. I know I had so much fun writing them, and it brought back such wonderful memories of my own childhood. The second book in this overture series is called Magical Overtures. And there are 10 new exciting solos for your late elementary to early intermediate level pianist in this collection. The first one you're going to hear is called Panache. Now, your students at this age might not know what the term panache means. So once they know that it means a flamboyant confidence of style or manner, they'll need to play this piece with lots of spirit and lots of energy. But be sure and have them shape those rapid five-finger patterns that start off this piece. You'll hear little patterns like this. I want them to rise up with their wrist at the end of each of those little five-note groupings and shape those five-finger patterns so they have a nice flowing sound like this. I get a little softer at the end of each pattern, okay? And at the end of this piece, you'll want to make sure that they have a nice flamboyant gesture that ends like this. And bounce off that last note with real spirit and conviction. Let's watch the video for this one. The next piece is called Copycats. I love finding elementary pieces at this level that develop contrapuntal playing. And it's such an important technical concept that I think our young students need to develop and practice over and over. The imitating patterns in each hand give lots of opportunities to develop thumb under and thumb over the thumb techniques while maintaining a very quiet and level wrist. In this piece, you want to make sure to observe the numerous dynamic markings so that this little copycats piece really comes alive. Let's watch the video of this one next. Well, I'm not sure what's happening with our videos this morning and internet, but apparently there's some kind of a technical issue and I think students will enjoy this journey. There's lots of left-hand melody in this piece, lots of mysterious sounds, a variety of articulations and clashing harmonies of loud polytonal triads that'll make this piece a real crowd pleaser on any recital program. You're going to notice that in the left-hand melody line, in measures 3 and 4, I have used the strongest fingers in the left hand, fingers 1, 2, and 3, which always helps the younger students to really bring out that melody more easily. It sounds like this in the opening. And so forth. I want them to really be convincing with those clashing sounds down on measure 13 and 14 that are played with both hands. We have a C minor chord in the right hand against an E flat minor chord in the left hand, and hold the pedal through both of those measures. In measures 9 and 12 also, be sure to have your students block out those broken fifths in each hand so that they're more easily able to maneuver across the keyboard. Let's watch the video, hopefully, on this one. Perilous Journey. Like this. Well, I'm really sorry that you're not able to hear all of these videos coming through. The last piece I want to show you in this collection is called Synergy. And with Synergy, which is the last piece in this book, I am writing sounds that sound harder than they really are. And this piece is going to be a real student favorite. I'm very sure of it. Students always love to practice the pieces that they love the most. And I think they're going to have so much fun with this one. All these open fifths always help students to achieve a great hand position. And there are mixed meters, there are unexpected accents, and boundless energy that'll make this solo really shine. Because it also works beautifully for a student with small hands. Little ones who love to play these fast, rambunctious types of pieces will have a great time with this one. It's a perfect recital piece or a festival piece for students at this level. Let's try and watch this video next, okay? Here we go.
Dennis, I'm just gonna come in here for a second.
The energy and the
Dennis, I'm just gonna come in here for a second just to let you know that the videos are playing fine.
Yes.
We can hear everything. But sometimes your stream is lagging just a little bit, but everything's going fine. So I'm not sure exactly what, but I just wanted to put your mind at ease for the last book.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Charmaine. This third book is entitled Magnificent Overtures, and it contains 9 very motivational solos for the intermediate to late intermediate level pianist. The first piece I want to share with you is called Boundless Joy. Provides boundless opportunities for students to really develop all kinds of technical skills. You're going to find broken triads, left hand over right hand, scale patterns, chords and inversions. It's all here in this piece. In the opening of this piece, I would want your students to practice again, blocking these broken rapid patterns like this. It sounds like this in the actual performance. But when they're practicing, have them block it out like this. So they block out those patterns and really get them secure in their hands. It's such a fun piece, and I'd like for you to hear this piece in its entirety. Let's watch the next video. Continues on. Let me just play the ending for you. Our next piece I'm going to share with you is called Valse Sentimentale. If you know my library of teaching materials, you know that I love writing very lyrical, beautiful singing style pieces with beautiful harmonies and surprises and interesting sounds. This piece will require a very warm, lyrical legato technique. It's a great opportunity for your students to develop this singing style of music with a tasteful sense of rubato. And it's also a great piece for teaching your students a very important technical concept and a musical concept, which I call matching tones. When we play a note on the keyboard, that sound starts instantly to die away. And in a piece like this, on all of these dotted quarter note rhythms that you'll see in the beginning few measures, you will want your students to listen to the decay and then match that following eighth note to that level of sound so that it continues in a very smooth lyrical manner like this. As soon as I play this first A in measure 1, when I come in with that B, see, I match the volume of that B so that we avoid things like this. Which I so often hear with young students if they're not really playing with their ears and listening for those beautiful, smooth legato sounds. Let's listen to the video performance of Valse Sentimentale. Skip to the last page of this piece and let you hear the ending. If you're looking for an exciting showstopper, juxtaposition is going to be the perfect candidate for you and your students. The term itself, juxtaposition, is defined as having two things being seen or placed close together with a contrasting effect. So in this piece, you're going to find mixed meters, opposing accents in each hand, a very spirited first and second inversion chords. They'll all combine to make this a real sure winner on any recital, festival, or competition. Your students might want to just drill that left-hand pattern alone to get comfortable with the leaps, and then break up that opening pattern into two halves. When you put it together, it sounds like this. So in the left hand, if they just practice going back and forth, so they really get used to those leaps that are happening when you play with hands together. It's so much fun to play, and it's so exciting to listen to. Let's hear juxtaposition next.
like this.
I also meant to tell you to be sure and watch those pedal markings in measures 32 to 35 at the top of the third page, because it's one long pedal there, and it'll help to really create that energy and excitement of the harmonies throughout that section. I believe Charmaine is going to be back right now with some announcements and perhaps some giveaways. Charmaine, take it away.
Thanks, Dennis. That was wonderful. I would suggest all of you pick up all 3 books. They're amazing, and they're all in different levels too. So Dennis prepared 2 questions for you, and we'll have 2 winners that will win all 3 books. So each winner will get 1 set. So the first question of the first question is, if you were listening, how does Dennis describe what panache means? It was one of the pieces in Magical Overtures. And Amy, maybe you can bring Dennis back up here. Flair, flamboyant. Ooh, that's who was first. I'll let Amy and Chrissy's also on here. I'll let them decide who was first. But Dennis, would you say flair or flamboyance? Those are both words you used, right, today?
I think they're both applicable.
Okay, perfect. So they will. Amy or Chrissy will announce the winner there. So that's 1 winner. So the second one is also, if you were listening carefully, what key is Boundless Joy? That was in Magnificent Overtures. Let's see if anyone was listening. Let's see.
Let's see if anybody has perfect pitch.
That's true. It's not C major. It's not G major. Not
How
F.
about minor?
It's
How about
a minor,
some
yeah.
type of minor?
It's not A minor. B flat.
Oh, they're grasping. They're desperate now.
E minor. I see it. And
Yes.
Young. Wonderful. Okay. Great. So we have 2 winners. Both of you will win the complete set of Dennis's books. And so
Yay.
now,
Congratulations.
yeah, congratulations to you both. And stay around for the end, because somebody will win everything that's presented today as well. And I also want to remind anyone, if you were having a little bit of problem with listening, or if there were jumps, we can't escape those, unfortunately, but you will be able to watch a replay. So, and that will be sent to you via email after the webinar is done. Okay, now we are ready for Dr. Artina McCain. Artina, are you there? Yes, take it away.
Hey, everyone. And thanks so much, Charmaine. I mean, this is a real honor for me to be invited into the Hal Leonard family and to share this stage with Dennis Alexander. I have to admit, I have all of my orders in for all of those books, because every piece I was like, oh, yeah, that's good. Oh, I need to do that one too. Yeah, my kids are going to love that. So I'm really excited to check out your music as well, Dennis, for some of my pre-college students. So, well, I get to talk about my new collection, the 24 African-American folk songs, which is a part of this wonderful collection of folk songs by Hal Leonard. I want to tell you just a little bit about the series before we dive into the music. The African-American spiritual, or the Negro spiritual, is one of the most significant forms of American folk song. There are over 6,000 of these anonymous masterpieces. And in this collection, 20 of the 24 folk songs are spirituals. And the other 4 are folk songs that enslaved Africans brought with them from West Africa. So I'm often asked about, how can I have a culturally relevant performance, especially maybe if I don't identify with the particular ethnicity. And I always tell people, you have to research. Just as you would research like a Brahms German art song or a French art song, these songs from this collection by Hal Leonard deserve that same sort of detail. So first, you always want to listen to recordings. And I like to say, listen to the people's recordings of the people's music. And I just mean by that maybe the academic recording, it'd be all polished up and the rhythms will be exactly precise and everything will be the same all the time. But sometimes when we listen to the people singing their music, we really get to incorporate and hear the inflections and the color from a certain cultural group. So in the African-American folk songs, for me, that would be listening to the recordings of people singing in church and not the polished ones, the ones somebody took with their video or their phone and published them somewhere. Or I also was able to find archived recordings of people that worked in fields in the South actually singing the music, all the way back to the 1870s. So I encourage you to really do your research when you are trying to think of culturally relevant performances. So we can go ahead and take a look at the first tune that I'll be talking about today, which is Little David, Play on Your Harp. Something that's really wonderful about the folk song collection is that there are notes in the beginning of each book, and it tells you a little bit about the song. In the African American folk song collection, I include a summary of what the spiritual meant. So whether it was a code or protest spiritual, a jubilee song or sorrow song, and then a summary of the text. So I'll read a little bit of what I wrote in my book so that you can get an idea of what those notes are like when you're wanting to talk about it with your students. So for My Little David, Play on Your Harp, this is a Jubilee song about the biblical story of David, who was a masterful musician, a king, and a slayer of the giant Goliath. You'll see in the score that the left hand is imitating David strumming his harp, while the right hand sings the text, Little David, Play on Your Harp. So let's take a listen. I love that Jubilee song. It's so fun. And often people are asking me, oh, well, it says intermediate folk songs. And what about some of my younger students? This is the first song in the book. And I think you can immediately see that it's very accessible for younger students who are maybe more familiar with 5-finger patterns, because they have that fifth in the left hand. And then in the right hand, we were mostly staying between C and G. So that's a great piece for one of your late beginners, or maybe even a beginner that's just starting that you want to talk about 5-finger patterns. Okay, so next up will be Guy, My Lord, What a Morning. Yes. And we'll take a look at the score first. And I'll do the same thing. I want you all to just hear the notes that are in the book about the piece, so you understand how to culturally inform your students about what the piece is about. So My Lord, What a Morning is a spiritual that provides encouragement for better days. It proclaims of a day when slaves will be free, whether in death or in emancipation. The lyrics proclaim, My Lord, what a morning, when the stars begin to fall. Let's take a listen. That's one of my favorite spirituals. Of course, I'm probably going to say that for every single one of them, but you can see that one as well. You get to teach how to carry a cantabile line in the right hand. And also very popular for younger students is to discuss 1, 4, and 5 chords in broken patterns. And this is a wonderful piece to do that along with discussing rubato. Now we're going to move on to the next one. Every time I feel the spirit. In this one, I just want to emphasize the fact that a lot of these Jubilee songs and ones that have lots of syncopated rhythms, in African American culture, we naturally have like drums and clapping and tambourines. And so if you want to add any percussive element, you should do it, okay? Some of them I actually marked it in the score or it's marked a little bit, but you should just keep it going and really enjoy all the different sound effects. So, and this one, and this is, yes, I think I can see it right. Yes, every time I feel the spirit, I want to ask you to put the claps on beats 2 and 4, and then the stomps can continue for all of the beats, or you can do them on 1 and 3. So that's a really fun one for students to play. Let's go ahead and take a listen. And that's a great recital closer too. I mean, who doesn't like playing tremolos and big chords? So again, if you can add the sound effects or maybe get your other students to add the sound effects while one student plays, that one can be a lot of fun. Now, I think I may have gotten out of order. So our backstage tech team is probably like, what's next? If we could do Guide My Feet, that would be amazing. There it is. So Guide My Feet is a piece that I grew up hearing. So outside of like, nowadays we have these churches with all the drums and the sound effects and the keyboard players and praise teams. But in these little country churches where a lot of African Americans would gather, these would be places where they could really talk about the joys and pains of life. And Guide My Feet is one that I would hear in my grandparents' old church where they didn't have all those fancy instrumentations. And again, just like I said about every time I feel the spirit, using the body for claps and stomps is something that's really important to the tradition. And so in Guide My Feet, I put those sound effects from the church in the piece. So you'll hear the same type of idea of the clapping and the stomping. It's a little hard to hear on the video, but you'll get the idea. And you should just keep it going throughout the entire piece. This one is talking about guide my feet while I run this race. And the race is talking about the journey of life. And every chorus has a different starting point, which I also put in the notes in the front of the book. So it's guide my feet, hold my hand, and stand by me. Let's take a listen. Another one of my favorites. Okay, so one more that's in the similar tradition of adding stomps and claps, which is By and By. This is the last one that I'll talk about from the African American folk song tradition. And I also want to encourage conversations. So in the 24 traditional folk songs of African American folk songs, I didn't shy away from tough topics. And By is one of those that a song that has been sung not only as a spiritual, but also as a civil rights tune. And I, in my notes, encourage conversation that's appropriate for children. So I just want to read a little bit of it so that you know what the notes say and that you can incorporate these conversations in ways that's appropriate for children, right? We all have struggles, and I think children can understand that too. So By and By is a sorrow song that's full of encouragement. Despite the constant troubles during the civil rights movement, this became one of the many anthems adapted from the spiritual era. The text states that we will understand the woes of the world little by little after we reach the promised land. And here the promised land refers to heaven or the afterlife. And the text is, By and by, when the morning comes, when the saints of God are gathered home, we'll tell the story of how we overcome and how we'll understand it by and by. Let's take a listen. So there's a joyous ending after all. I also get the opportunity today to talk with you about some of the other wonderful books in the traditional folk song collection. So up next is the Japanese traditional folk songs. And I love how in this series by Hal Leonard, they're incorporating so many different cultures, so many different ethnicities. So you'll really find something for everyone, and also give your students the opportunity to explore other cultures different than theirs. So let's take a look at the next page in the book, which I believe is the content page. And you'll see this in each one of the books in the folk song selections, in the folk songs collection. And then next, you have a map. And I think the map is probably one of the most amazing things besides the actual content page and the notes, is because you can actually see where the country is. You get to take a look at what it's shaped like. It's a wonderful time for a geography lesson in your piano studio. And each book has this map so that students can explore the culture in this way. So we will be taking a look at the Wish I Could Go score. And this is one of the many tunes. Again, this is one of the earlier tunes. So it's very accessible for, I would say, even your late beginner students. Let's take a listen. Now, next up is the Irish traditional folk songs. And in my own studio, I have to tell the story. When Charmaine invited me into the Hal Leonard family, she sent me all of the books in the collection. And, just for fun, I thought, I'm just going to put these books out and see what my students think. I know what their ethnicities are, and I just wanted to see if, maybe they would gravitate towards it. So one day I had one of my students, his family is from Ireland, and they saw the Irish folk songs and immediately they're like, ooh, what is this? And they start flipping through the contents and they landed on the Rocky Road to Dublin, which is the piece that we're going to take a look at today. This was one of their favorites. I mean, they started singing the tunes, singing the words, and the mom was so excited because she said she had sung these songs to her sons when they were children. So the series is also very relevant to people of different cultures, and it has a real impact in getting them excited about playing songs from their own ethnic heritage. So let's take a listen to Rocky Road. After we played that tune with my student and his mom, literally we were doing an Irish jig around my living room. So it was such a fun piece, and so many of the other pieces in the Irish folk song collection gathered the same sort of response. So I know your students or any student would really love playing an Irish jig. Let's take a look now at the Malay folk songs written by our own editor, Charmaine Siagian. And I have chosen to highlight the cockatoo because who wouldn't want to play a piece by a dramatic bird? And most students might recognize that as a parrot, a talking parrot. And another thing that's amazing about the folk songs collection is just all the beautiful artwork that depicts the stories of each folk song. And so in the cockatoo, this piece is so much fun. I mean, Charmaine has added all these wonderful sound effects of the birds with seconds and grace notes and the rhythmic pulse in 3. And I think it just really captures the spirit, not only of the bird, but in my opinion, a childlike spirit that all children will enjoy playing. So let's take a listen. So, regardless of your cultural identity, I think this traditional folk song collection from Hal Leonard really highlights how much we have in common and how we can really connect through music. I think we have a slide of all of the pieces, the books in the collection. Yeah, there it is, including the newest one coming out, the South African traditional folk songs. So I hope that you all already have your order in. I know I've enjoyed the folk song collections, not only contributing to it, but also playing other tunes from it. So I'll bring Charmaine back on the stage for a giveaway.
Yes, thanks so much, Artina. That was so fun. And you have a lot of great comments. If you have time in the next 5 minutes, you can scroll through and see what everyone said. But now it's time for a giveaway, and we are giving away the whole folk song series collection, except for the new one, which is South Africa. That should be out in March, I'm hoping. And so the two questions are, the first one is, what was the title of the Malay folk song that I just played? I guess this is an Artina question. So, oh, I think Vivi Tong has it, and she even gave the title in the correct language in Malay or Indonesian, Bahasa, which is
Wow.
wonderful. Yes. Excellent. Okay, and the next one is, what additional sound effect did Artina request for the spiritual Guide My Feet? What sound effect? Let's see, there could be two possibilities. There we go. So I'll let Chrissy and Amy decide who was first. But I think we have two winners of the whole folk songs collection from Hal Leonard. So we hope to expand that even more. Okay, let's bring Dennis back out. And you know what? We have one more grand giveaway, and that is for everything. So that this includes Dennis's books and all of the folk songs collection. And it's an easy question, so get ready, okay? What is the next folk song collection book that will be out in March? I just said it, so let's hope someone gets that. And I'll let Christy and Amy take care of that. And I think we have a couple questions for both of you before we leave. There we go. South Africa is coming in strong. Yes, that's next. And the questions we have, let's see. Grant Nakano is asking, and either of you could take this one. How would you help young composers get the ball rolling on an original composition that they might want to start? Maybe Dennis, you want to take this one?
Well, sure, be happy to. One of my very dear friends in this publishing business, she's a wonderful composer and has a wonderful library of materials. And her name is Winnan Rossi. And she has a series of 6 books, and they are called a Composition Toolbox. They're published by Alfred, but there are 6 levels, and every single book has wonderful ideas, very creative suggestions for getting students into composing, and I highly recommend them. They're really excellent.
What's the title again? Composition work.
Composition Toolbox.
Okay, got it.
Okay, yeah.
Great.
Composition Toolbox, and there are 6 levels in the series.
Excellent. Okay, Artina, you get the next one. Sinden Collier, how to encourage your teacher to teach this amazing music? My teacher remains solely in traditional classical music, and I'm always learning other genres of music on my own.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, that's a hard one.
That's a tough one. Well, I think, at least myself as a teacher, I'm always really excited to learn about new things. No teacher knows everything that's out there. So maybe in your teacher's case, they just don't know. I mean, sometimes you might think, well, how can you not know? But we just don't know everything. So maybe having an opportunity to play some of the pieces that you're learning about to your teacher will help broaden their horizons. And maybe you can play it in a performance class, and you can help broaden the horizons of the other students in that studio too. And then maybe we can have all of them cross over to doing more than just the standard repertoire. So I think that's a way to just educate the teachers as well as enjoying playing other repertoire yourself.
Excellent. Well, I think we are just about done. Do either of you have anything else that you want to add? We're so happy to have you on board. This was just such a pleasure.
I would just like to wish everyone a very happy holiday season, a happy Thanksgiving coming up, happy holiday season, safe travels if you're traveling, and I hope that we'll join TNA in Minneapolis next March. And Artina, I can't wait to meet you in person.
Likewise, I'm like giddy over here.
And Artina, is there anything you can share about MTNA, since you know a little bit more about than us? We're hoping it's supposed to be hybrid, right? That's the plan.
Yeah, so there's options for both online and in person. It's going to be one of the best MTNAs ever. And I only say that because coming out of a pandemic, I mean, we're just all so excited to get together and get to meet our friends that we've met on Zoom or online over the last year. So I think it's going to be really special in this way. So I encourage you all to come and maybe to get to see one of these showcases in person.
Yes. Well, thank you again both so much. Our thanks also to Amy Thomason, who's been behind the scenes, getting everything ready, and also to Chrissy and Dennis Alexander and Artina McCain. We hope to see you again on here in the future.
Thanks, Charmaine.
Thanks. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.